Well, hello and good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We have a nice group here. We might have some more people joining us as we go, but definitely wanted to say hello and welcome. My name is Michael Lopez Patton. I'm the Associate Vice President of Admissions here at Pacific Oaks. And so we are going to definitely respect your time. You've all taken time out of your day to be here with us. And we know your time is important, so we are going to get started. And again, I'm sure there will be a few more people joining us, but we are going to introduce a few individuals here with us as we get started. And I am just going to bring up our introductions here. So again, my name is Michael Lopez Patton. I'm the Associate Vice President of Admissions. Of course, you are here not to speak with me, but to get to speak to some of the experts this evening about social work, the field, the degree programs, and how to prepare to be a social worker and what you're able to do. So we are going to start first with Dr. Cassandra Peel, who is our program director for the Master of Social Work degree program. Dr. Peel.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our informational session. I am Dr. Cassandra Peel. I'm the program director for the Master of Social Work in the School of Cultural and Family Psychology. I'm thrilled that you're here to learn more about our program, and I look forward to sharing much more. I joined PO back in July, and before that, I was faculty at Arizona State University. I'm really, really glad to be here.
And we are glad to have you, Dr. Peel. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Dr. Mary Starks, as you can see next on the screen, Dr. Starks wasn't able to join us just yet. She might be able to join us a little bit later, but she is the program director for our Bachelor of Social Work degree program. But for those of you who are here to talk about the Bachelor of Social Work, we have a very special person here. One of our core faculty members, Kathryn Hughes, is here with us. So Kathryn, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. So I'm Kathryn Hughes, and I also have been at PO since July, and I'm really excited to be the core faculty for the BSW program. I am actually located in Virginia, and I am a licensed clinical social worker, have been in the field for over 10 years, and prior to coming to PO was teaching at a university in Virginia. So I'm excited to be here and hope to answer any and all questions you have about the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Just two more introductions for us real quickly. Want to recognize a few other special guests we've got here. Dr. Judy Castro has joined us this evening. Dr. Castro. Oh, we've got to unmute our favorite quote of 2020.
This microphone just gets you all the time, even though you're prepared. Again, thank you, Dr. Judy Castro. I am the AVP of Partnership and Development at Pacific Oaks. This is my third week. I am responsible for the implementation of the Hispanic Serving Institution Grant. Pacific Oaks was awarded $2.5 million to support our undergraduate students. And I am here also to welcome you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Dr. Castro. Last but not least, a very special guest. Our college president has joined us this evening. So Dr. Jack Pedunton.
Good evening, everyone. My job is very easy today to welcome you to Pacific Oaks. I know that you're going to learn so much on the information that you would receive today. And I want you to pay very close attention to that because this is a big decision to make. It's a big commitment. I know that PO has put together a wonderful program, and I know that the program stands true to our core value, which is social justice, diversity, inclusion, and respect. So with that said, you will see those elements of our core value throughout the program and information. And if you are to come in and join PO, you would appreciate the work that we have done thus far to support our mission and core value. I am one of the person who will be supporting you to the finish line as well. We are a very small institution, and being small also being connected as well. So I love to come to classes. I love to come to say hello to you and see what kind of support I can have as you go through the journey with Pacific Oaks. More information is coming from your faculty member, and I rather just give all the time to them so that you can hear more of information. Michael, thank you so much for including me in this meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Badun. We always appreciate having our college president be present with us. So thank you so much for being here. And like we said, we do know that you are here to speak with our faculty members. So we're going to be presenting a few topics for you. These are the topics kind of in the order that we're going to be covering with you. We're going to talk just very briefly about our power of community that we believe in here at Pacific Oaks and those core values that Dr. Badun mentioned. And then we're really going to dive deeply into the field of social work. We're going to talk about the theories, the different approaches there, the training involved, and very importantly, the types of careers that come from these degrees in social work. Now, just some housekeeping for all of you. This is an open conversation. We will have a free open time at the end for just open dialogue, but at any point, please feel free to jump in, ask questions, make comments throughout the entire time here. This is your evening. This is your time to ask questions. So if you are comfortable being on camera, we would love that. If you just are comfortable using the audio, by all means, use just the audio. And if maybe you're not comfortable with the audio and there's background noise for you, you have a chat dialogue box. So feel free to type your questions and your comments in that chat box. I'll be watching that and calling out those questions to our faculty members as well, if you're not able to use the video or the audio. So with that said, we're going to get started and get right into, again, what we want to talk about this evening. So just a brief introduction for those of you who are not familiar with Pacific Oaks College. Our 4 core values are listed right there at the top there: diversity, respect, social justice, inclusion. The one thing that I would say about Pacific Oaks is these are not just words for us. This is what we do as a college. Our services, the way we approach teaching, these core values are infused in everything that we do. And I'm hoping that you'll get a small glimpse of that, at least tonight, as we talk about our social work degree programs and why this degree field is so important for us as a college. The power of community means something a little bit different for everybody. It'll mean something different to you. What you see here is a sample of some actual students and faculty members at Pacific Oaks College when we asked them, what is the power of community? So some of them were able to give some responses. You can see a little bit different for each one. But what is common about all of them is that we are all part of the same community. We're all different. We have different backgrounds, different education levels, but we all belong to this same community here at Pacific Oaks. And we are better because of each individual person. That's something we believe in strongly. We believe that the uniqueness of you makes us all better. And so we encourage you to share your background, encourage you to share your experience with us, because it makes all of us better getting to know you. So again, welcome to our meeting here for social work. We're so glad you were able to join us. And we are going to turn the time over here to our faculty to get started introducing all of us to this amazing field and why it's so important. And again, I encourage you, questions, jump in, ask your questions, make your comments. I'm going to be watching our chat box over here on the side, so I'll be able to call out comments and questions as you're typing them in. But we want to turn the time over to Dr. Peel and to Kathryn Hughes. So thank you.
Thank you. So Dr. Peel, I will start with addressing these terms as they relate to the BSW program, and then of course, feel free to chime in and elaborate for the MSW program too. So yeah, gosh, one of the most exciting parts of social work to me, and one of the things that makes it so distinct from other fields in the helping profession, is really what this slide summarizes. So we are looking at solving problems on 3 different levels. Micro, which really just means focusing on an individual, working one-on-one with somebody. Macro, which means large, so working with larger systems that could be organizations, communities, even policy level. systems, and then meso, so sort of in between, so the middle level, so families and groups. And so as a graduate of the BSW program here at Pacific Oaks, you will leave prepared to intervene on all three levels. So you will be able to enter as an entry-level social work generalist who is equipped to view problems through the lens of all three of these levels and also intervene effectively. And so just to sort of bring that to life for you, I can provide a very brief example. So let's say you are working with somebody struggling with unemployment, maybe facing homelessness. One-on-one, you may be assessing that person's needs. How can I connect her with resources to assist with obtaining food, securing shelter, medical care, job training, but also even looking at her and her environment. So in what ways might you need to intervene with family or social support or in the community? And then even advocating for change as it relates to increasing access to services for other individuals facing that problem. So this is really an exciting part of social work because it allows us to create change, not just individually, but in society as a whole. All right, Dr. Peel, I'll let you chime in.
Thank you, Katie.
Mm-hmm.
So social work doesn't just help individual people. Instead, it works across three scales, which you see on the screen here, micro, meso, and macro. That creates social change. An MSW degree is considered to be the standard for professional practice in the field of social work, and it's a requirement for those who want to become licensed clinical social workers, or LCSWs. MSW programs provide advanced practice-based training in different areas of social work, including the scales that you see in front of you. Rather than targeting one of these areas, advanced generalist programs like ours offer students a really broad curriculum that incorporates all elements of practice with individuals, families, groups, and community and organizational practice. Micro-level social work involves direct interaction with clients to address individual problems. Common examples of micro-level work include helping people to find housing, healthcare, and social services. Individual and family counseling also fall under this category, as do certain kinds of mental and behavioral health and substance abuse treatment. Micro-level social work can be offered by agencies or nonprofits, as well as schools, police departments, and even the military. This is just to give you a context in a sense. And while micro social work happens on an individual level, meso-level social work zooms out and looks at groups instead of individuals. So of course, the smallest group is the family unit, but meso-social work extends far beyond that. Many practitioners use micro and meso-social work simultaneously to solve problems in schools, businesses, organizations, and communities. Since meso-social work helps address group issues, it's a really valuable tool for creating small-scale institutional, social, and cultural change. And macro-level social work involves interventions and advocacy on a large scale, affecting communities, states, countries, and beyond. It helps clients by intervening in large systems that may feel and seem out of reach to them. So for many who are unfamiliar with this field, macro-level work may not even be recognizable or classified as social work to non-social workers. Macro social workers may be involved in creating laws or petitioning local, state, or even federal government for funds to help communities, such as COVID times. They may also organize state or nationwide activist campaigns. Since macro social work often involves governmental assistance or interventions, the social work has really thrived in the meso domain. Now, while certain social workers specialize in one of these aspects of the micro to macro scale, most social workers interact with all three levels, and this is what we teach and train on at PO. As such, social workers must understand the entire spectrum and how all the scales interact. Without an understanding of every stage, from micro to macro, social workers will struggle to enact individual, group, or social change. So success in the profession depends upon the ability to navigate seamlessly and combine all of these levels of social work to deliver successful outcomes for clients and communities.
Thank you. I love that. I've got a question that I want to pose to the audience, and we'll kind of try to put this into the chat box. So for those of you that are here, my question is, when you are thinking about going into this field to become a social worker, what are some of the things that have interested you about the field, or what are some of the things that you would like to accomplish as a future social worker? So type that into the chat box here. We'll move into our next little segment, but I'll kind of read out what our audience is saying, and maybe we can address some of those things as we're talking about the other aspects here. So, but definitely type in on the little chat box there, what kind of brings you to the field of social work? What's driving you, and what are you hoping to accomplish? So our next slide here is really an intro to the difference in the type of learning and knowledge gained at the bachelor's level and at the graduate master's level. So our faculty members, if you could introduce us to the types of learning that occur at the two different degree levels.
Sure. So as I said previously, one of the great things about the BSW program at PO is that you will leave prepared for entry-level social work generalist practice at all three of the levels that we just discussed. And you'll also have a wonderful foundation of knowledge should you at some point want to pursue an MSW degree in the future. So when we're thinking about the courses and the types of assignments that one would be going through in the BSW program, we would really be helping you to engage in understanding and beginning to interpret and gain the knowledge of social work concepts and theories that are necessary to be successful as a generalist practitioner. And so you'll see with our course sequence that we're really building on what knowledge, what theories need to lay the foundation for you to then to continue and build on that. And sort of the culmination of all this, although I see that applying is technically on the master's level, I will say that there is an application piece even at the bachelor's level where you will have an opportunity to take the knowledge, the concepts that you've learned, and begin to practice them in the real world. So you will engage in a field placement where you'll have a chance to do the things we're talking about in class and gain that experience before you have the degree. So when you go out to look for those entry-level positions, you have that already on your resume. Dr. Peel, I'll let you speak to the MSW.
Thank you, Katie. So in terms of the master's level, it entails a true application to a new setting based upon theory and practice learned. And one of the things to know about the master's degree, social work, is that it is a professional degree and it is a terminal degree. It can be also a springboard to the PhD because you take a series of research methodology courses that allow you to hone your analytical skills while also learning to distinguish between facts and inferences. So this all leads to creation and evaluation at the doctoral level if you explore that option. And we do have a partnership with Saybrook University if that is something that you are interested in post-MSW.
All right, thank you. And we've got a couple of contributions to our chat here. So we have two individuals that are here with us tonight. Both have somewhat of a similar motivation there. One wants to be an advocate for families and help them thrive in the community. Another one wants to help out families who are struggling with their needs. So I'm hearing micro meso in there, if I'm understanding correctly what we're talking about. So I love that. One more says, to help people from all ages who have access to resources that will help them thrive in life, regardless of race, gender, etc. I love that. It's a helping field. We've got some helpers here with us.
It is, and I think those reasons are very aligned with the mission of social justice. And the connectivity, the common thread that I see with all of the reasons is that people understand and or have felt disenfranchised. They've witnessed people being at a disservice, and they want to be that change, and they want to ensure that that people have their rights protected. And so this is advocacy at its core, is what I'm seeing from it.
What I love about what we're about to discuss next and talking about the degree program specifically is we have so many individuals in our communities who want to be advocates and they want to really make change happen in individuals and in families, but they're not sure how to do that. They don't feel empowered to do that. And it's the training that comes with these degrees that empowers individuals to know how to make those changes and how to advocate effectively. So as we go into this next slide here, we will start to discuss what the BSW and what the MSW do for the individuals who go through these degree programs. And we're also going to talk about individual coursework as well, of course. So back to our faculty.
Sure. And I wanted to just piggyback on something you all said, that I had a student once tell me that after she went through the social work degree program, she couldn't unsee how she viewed the world. So there was sort of this shift in the bachelor's degree of her being able to gain this ability to view things with this social justice lens and to see herself as a change agent, and that was really transformative. And so just to put that out there. So what can our graduates do? So like I said, the BSW degree is really there to allow you to enter the field at entry-level work. So you wouldn't necessarily be doing therapy like Dr. Peel had referenced for people who want to get their clinical licensure. That wouldn't be part of your role. But you would be able to, as an entry-level social worker, we will prepare you to work in a variety of settings with different populations, with diverse populations. And so some of the settings that you might find yourself in or find other BSW social workers in would be healthcare settings, medical settings, mental health and substance abuse settings, working with vulnerable populations, aging population, child welfare settings. So really it's so many different populations. And then common job titles that often are associated with the BSW degree are intake worker, eligibility worker, caseworker, mental health assistant. So there's lots of different titles, and I think sometimes that can be confusing because you might not even realize that somebody you've interfaced with has a BSW. But in terms of the day-to-day, I do want to give you a sense of some of the things you'd be able to do as you intervene as a social worker. So it could be being that person who's really the first contact for a client coming in for services, and such a powerful position to be in, to be able to develop that relationship, to assess their needs, do that initial intake, and help refer and connect them with the resources they need. I know some of you talked about working with families, and absolutely being able to, that's something at the BSW you can do, work with families to help them access resources, make referrals, to really increase their overall well-being and functioning. I have seen BSW graduates facilitating support groups at agencies where they work. I've seen them working in homeless shelters with persons who are homeless, but even going out into the community with outreach programs to assist with educating populations of the services available to them. So I could go on and on. And that's really one of the most exciting things about the field, I think, is that there's so much versatility within this degree. There's such a need. There are jobs available, and there's so much ability to be flexible, and over the course of your entire career, do so many different types of work.
I agree with Katie. The versatility, you could be a social worker for life and have 10 to 15 different careers within that time frame. In terms of options for MSW, it's not too different from what a BSW does. However, the responsibility would be greater, and MSWs would receive roles at the leadership level upon graduation in the following sectors: child and family social workers, criminal justice social workers. You could be involved in medical social work and work in home health or hospitals, rehabilitative settings, mental health and substance abuse social work. There's school social work, which would be advocating for fair and equal treatment of all pre-K to 12 students. Then there's therapy and counseling. That could be a segue to private practice, policy and nonprofit administration, higher education, corporate social responsibility, even human resources, as well as university teaching. So it's extremely versatile in terms of the type of work that you'd be able to do. And social work is one of the fastest growing helping professions in the United States. The Department of Labor anticipates over 100,000 new social work jobs over the next decade, which is a 19% increase from the current positions that we have. As the field of social work grows, it continues to diversify, offering many worthwhile opportunities for MSW degree holders. Now think of it, we're living in a pandemic where the majority of services, or many services, are virtual and or online or hybrid. As you would be going to school in our fully online program, you would also utilize the training and the skills that you learned from virtual education and virtual simulations, virtual vignettes. So our program at Pacific Oaks has a direct translation to practical 21st century social work, post-pandemic social work, which is going to look virtual.
I love that you just pointed that out. So many times we think about, what do I get in the coursework and what can I do with that? We forget about the actual process of being a student and how that also prepares you for your career. And I think we're all seeing, just now we're being here in this virtual Zoom meeting because of the pandemic, we're going to see much more technology use in the way that we interact with our communities post-pandemic. And being a student in an online program like this actually prepares someone to be able to do this as they move into their career. So I really appreciate that you pointed that out as well. I'm going to bring up some of our sample coursework to help highlight what is it that we teach you and how do we go through that process there. So we've got a couple of samples here.
All right, I had to unmute. So absolutely. So this is just 4 of the many incredible courses that we have. And so the ones that we have highlighted here for the BSW program, the first 2 listed, those are really the courses where you'll get the kind of the meat and potatoes of how do I assess needs, how do I intervene, how do I build relationships at all of those 3 levels, micro, meso, and macro. And then as you move through the program, you will be able to sort of take all of that and really apply it and integrate it in these fieldwork classes. So as you're completing your fieldwork, you would be in these classes where there would be support and ability to integrate your work in the field with the assignments you're doing. And I think that application piece is important, because I remember as a student, I wanted to know, why does this matter? Why do I need to learn this? How will I use it? And we're really intentional that everything that we're teaching and the assignments we're having you do is really to build you to be able to apply this in the field as a professional. The only other thing I wanted to add was, as you go through the BSW program, we have really been thoughtful about how do we include you in the assignments and curriculum. So we want you to bring your identities, your culture, your life, everything into the room to share with us, to learn as a group, to learn together, and also to integrate into our assignments as we're covering, you know, the theories and the concepts of social work.
Thank you, Katie. Our program, master's level, is really intentional about our coursework sequencing. We offer a part-time 3-year program and a full-time 2-year program that totals 24 courses and 60 total credits. The 4 courses that I have had posted on this slide for you to look at are really incorporating our mission and our values and our purpose. Social Work 515, it's called HIPSI, First Course of Human Development. It's changed to the life course. We go from birth to death. And this is a foundational course. This sets the stage for your practice and understanding as a social worker. Then there's Social Work 535, which is Social Welfare Policy and Analysis. And this course provides a really solid baseline of our society and how laws shape our communities and our clients' lives. Social work is not divorced from any discipline. It is so multidisciplinary. And then understanding the law and how government and our policy works is instrumental to understanding the lives of our clients. Social Work 645, Wellness and Sustainability, is probably one of my favorite courses, and I'll tell you why. It gives a foundation for the social worker to learn about themselves, their own self-care, their own well-being, any traumas that they've had in their life to process, and also gives them the opportunity to address and understand any conscious or unconscious bias they might have, as they prepare to enter professional practice. And last but not least, Social Work 650, which is Advanced Generalist Practice. This gives the student an opportunity to showcase their knowledge of micro, meso, and macro practice and their intersections through various case studies and vignettes. So you get to show your stuff in terms of what you've learned, and we do a lot of practice for interviews as well as for the field. And field education is such a large part of this program, and is what really attracts people to being part of this program, is having the ability to study and then go apply what they've learned into the community.
Thank you so much for that. I want to give our audience just an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have about the coursework, about the degree programs themselves. If you're thinking about going into the licensure route to become an LCSW, what questions do you have about the types of classes and the preparing for being a student that you might have at this point? And I'll give it a moment in case anybody is typing in those questions. I've made the mistake of assuming there's no questions and then I see them pop up. So I'll let you think about that, what questions that you might have about the coursework, about becoming an LCSW. What I appreciate about this field very specifically is that although you might think the MSW is kind of that terminal degree, you do that so that you can do everything, there's so much you're capable of at the BSW level as well. So it's not just that stepping stone to go into your graduate program. It can in and of itself be your preparing degree to go into your full career. Looks like, would the program lead to licensure in California? Great question. I'm going to hand that to our faculty to talk about licensure. That's a great segue into our next slide as well. But if you would like to talk about the LCSW licensure in California. And I think, Dr. Peel, that might be a question for you, since it's for LCSW.
Fantastic. Thank you for your question. The answer is yes. Our program is actually in the process of becoming accredited right now. And CSWE, the Council of Social Work Education Accreditation, specifically helps students because as a student applying for your licensure post MSW graduation, an MSW from an accredited institution is required. So if you apply to our program and by the time you graduate and you work and you're ready for licensure, we will be accredited and you will get your license.
I love that. That's an important question for someone that really is seeking to become an LCSW. What is very exciting for me is the stage that we're in right now as a college, to be able to offer this degree program, both the BSW and the MSW, and to be working with CSWE for the accreditation process. I also love that CSWE, the accreditor for social work programs, recognize students who come into the program at the beginning. And as the accreditation process goes through to fulfillment, they recognize those students as having come through an accredited program. So that's an exciting piece for us. And it's exciting for students to be a part of this new program for us here at Pacific Oaks. And it sounds like they said, thank you for that. So it sounds like you answered their question. Thank you, Dr. Peel. Looks like in this program, can you work in California or outside of the state? And can this program prepare me to work in the community?
Is that addressed for both programs or specifically one versus the other?
I'll ask if you could type in that one. Are you looking just for that BSW or the MSW? That'll help us formulate that. Oh, I'm sorry, to the individual who typed that question.
Oh.
If you
I'm happy to also just answer if that would be helpful. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, and it's a good question. And so I'll let Dr. Peel answer first, but I'll still reiterate for BSW just in case there's somebody who that can be helpful for.
Thank you, Katie and Michael. And thank you, Michelle, for your question. Yes, in your program, we do have students that we will accept from other states. Right now, our cohort is entirely from North through South California, but we are open to accepting students from other states. We do have a list and an agreement with the majority of states, but please email us. We'll have our emails available on the last slide. If you are from a particular state, if you're living in one state right now, send us an email so that we can double check and make sure that we have an agreement with your state. And yes, the program can prepare you for work in the community. Our field placement requirement, which is 900 hours of community work, is done in person. And that will be virtual until the summer per the CSW in our global pandemic. But after that, it will be in person and you'll be engaging in the community and preparing for that. So yes.
Thank you. I'm going to unshare the screen at this point so that we can all just have this open dialogue now and just really ask questions and interact. Anything that you would like to discuss.
Michael, before we go to that, maybe let's pass it to the Bachelor in Social Work as well, just to answer the same question.
Absolutely. Sorry about that.
Sure. Thank you. So you absolutely can, with your BSW, you would be able to gain employment in other states. So having a BSW from in our program, you would be grandfathered into, it would be an accredited program. There would be no issue with you seeking employment in other states. And I also just wanted to add that the BSW, while some students do go on to their master's, I have had many students over the years who have worked their whole, years as a BSW. And not only are they start in those entry-level positions, but I've had several students who over the years, 3 or 4 years of experience, they have moved up to program director positions within their agency or their place of employment. So I want to also be clear that with the years of experience on top of the bachelor's degree, there is some room for advancement as well.
Thank you for sharing that. I think sometimes someone coming into their bachelor's degree very early on in their education might think it's such a long road ahead, and that can be very discouraging. But knowing that there is a career field for you at the bachelor's level, it is a great encourager. And then someone who does decide they can move into that master's degree at some point, they're prepared for that. Great. I've seen a question and answer already that's come through there. But a question for the group who might not have seen that there was, does the MSW allow you to work as a mental health associate therapist or a therapist? And Dr. Peel's response was that yes, 2 different kinds, and those are available there. In the chat box, if you're not looking at that, there is a link that's been provided. And it looks like a question about some scholarships, and you're able to find some scholarships and grants through that link as well. And a question here from Michelle, is that program, can we work in mental health? Are we able to work with mental health?
So I'll address that at the BSW level in case there's anyone interested. So yes, I have had BSW students who have gone to work in psychiatric units of hospitals, or even in some substance abuse settings where they are sort of the eligibility intake worker. They're doing that initial meeting or working as a case manager. So at the bachelor's level, absolutely.
And also to answer Angie, let me see, Angie or Nayeli. Yes, you can work as a mental health associate therapist or therapist with your MSW, and you can also work with mental health or behavioral health or child services with your MSW. I know this because of going through the program myself, an MSW program, and also my mother and my sister are mental health and child welfare specialists that are social workers. So yes.
I love just the different types of field work that you can do with the education. And I think it is because of the micro, meso, and macro training, it really opens the door for so many different types of focus within your degree program and within your career. Looks like, are we able to move towards university teaching with an MSW? And if so, are there additional requirements? It's a great question.
So I can speak to my personal experience. I have an MSW and I'm also an LCSW and been in the field. I graduated with my MSW in 2009, so for a while. And I have been able to seek out and gain opportunities teaching at the university level. I have I have primarily taught at the undergraduate level, although I have also done some graduate level teaching. So I would say that absolutely the possibility is there if you are strategic in sort of the positions you take and how to get your foot in the door in those sort of positions. Dr. Peel, would you have anything to add from your experience?
Yes, and I graduated with my MSW in 2010 and went on to university teach at the University of Arizona, having an MSW, and at Arizona State University. You need to get, it's such a, I don't know how to say this, but you need teaching experience to become a teacher. And so you have to, somebody has to hire you, and you have to prove yourself by giving lots of presentations and facilitate workshops. That's how you really start to build your portfolio for getting somebody to hire you and get your foot in the door. So yes, that's the answer is yes. At many universities nationwide, a master's degree, and also at the community college level, absolutely. So I would say yes, and Katie and I are living proof.
I love that's an encouraging answer that you're living proof yourselves. Yes, with this type of degree program, you can do that. We had a great question that I think that applies to many Pacific Oaks students, not just even in social work. And the question was, do we accept DACA students? And the simple answer is absolutely yes. We accept DACA students. We will work with you to try to find any types of additional funding. Typically, that for the DACA students, funding is an issue at times. So we will work with you. And I'm actually really glad that, again, we introduced Dr. Castro at the beginning. But Dr. Castro, would you like to talk a little bit about some of the services that you're working to provide as a recipient here of a grant for Hispanic serving institutions?
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the question. The Department of Education, through this grant, will allow us to provide services for our undergraduate students. We will be able to offer laptops, tablets, bilingual staff to support our students for mentoring, tutoring. And tutoring, I'll be very specific, it would be in the course or the subject matter that you may be having a problem with. So these are the services, mentoring services. So we will be there to service and to guide you through the process, and also to provide you with additional information such as scholarships for specifically for DACA students. So it's an open door for us to provide you with services to ensure that that you graduate, that you stay with your dream to make your dream your reality. We have a motto now at PO, tu futuro está en tus manos, the future is in your hands. And so that is something that we will support and guide the process.
And Michael, if I wanted to add something, I love the question on what is a career opportunity in teaching, right? So that's exactly, I think all of your professors here, and myself included, actually at one point inspired to teach somebody. And it can be a small step. For example, become a tutor for the programs, and the grant that Dr. Castro actually mentioned actually allowed the graduate student to actually become tutor for undergraduate. And that would be a step that, you need to position yourself well. And I do agree with Professor Hughes. If you position yourself well, that's the path that you can make. And I wanted to be instrumental for you if you wanted to get that way as well. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you can get there to be a college professor. It is, talking about the macro impact and the micro impact that we start early on this time. You become a macro person when you actually can influence and make an impact for a larger audience that way. So I appreciated that so much, because that's part of the community service that we do at PO.
Thank you for that. I'll address just a little bit more about this, the financial aspect. And I would say not just for our DACA students, but for any student who maybe you're struggling with navigating how you find financial services to help prepare for paying for college. We have a financial aid coordinator at our college who will be willing to work with you to help navigate finding resources, finding ability to pay, to support you with that. She's also bilingual in Spanish, so if you or your family members would prefer to discuss finances in Spanish, she would be more than happy to do that as well. We have some other great questions that have come up for us. One of those talks about just what we call the modality, that this is a 100% online degree program. And the question really there is, will you help me? Will you support me being an online student? So how can we discuss that with our faculty members about being an online student?
Absolutely, yes, to the support question. And the program I came from teaching in was also had a fully online component as well. And I'll say it is a little bit of a shift. If you've never done that, you're not used to that. This is a fully online asynchronous learning. Program. However, there are so many opportunities for live instruction and engagement with instructors. It's a small community. So you have not just your academic advisor, but your faculty advisor who's really there to help you along the way as well. There's also support in place. So, I mean, there are trainings on how to, navigate the library system, and if you need support with Canvas or our learning management system, all of that is there to help you along the way. Dr. Peel, I'm sure I'm forgetting some pieces of that. Will you add as well?
Yeah, I can certainly add. We have an asynchronous online program, which means one thing: flexibility. The majority of people in the program are women in the thick of life. They are taking care of everyone, and they have multiple responsibilities. Although we have men in the program as well. They have a lot of duties and responsibilities, and they find that having the asynchronous style really works with their schedules, and they're able to log in when they can. However, something we do to support our students is create synchronous lectures and synchronous time so that we are cultivating those very important relationships with faculty and students and cohorts. So it's really a blended mix. Formally it's asynchronous, but we have a lot that we integrate into the normal week. So students meet weekly with their professor. They have case studies, vignettes, and different events that they take part in collectively as a cohort.
Thank you for that. We have a couple of questions that I think pertain to both degrees, because both at the BSW and the MSW, we have field work and practicum internship requirements. So the two questions that I think are very similar to answer would be, being online, how do I find the internship? Or, do you assist me with that? When I need to do field work, where do I do that and how do I do that? If you could discuss kind of from the BSW and the MSW perspectives there.
I saw you started typing a response, Dr. Peel, so I was going to let you start.
I'm actually just answering the accreditation question.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will start. Okay. So we have a field education director, Dr. Walsh, and she is also very supportive and accessible to our students, and will meet with you and talk with you to help you identify and secure placement within your geographical location. So there is definitely a support around that as well.
The process is very similar for MSW. Dr. Walsh will meet with the students based upon where they live throughout the state or in neighboring states or even across the country. They'll have a conversation around what things excite them, what they're looking for. They'll interview actually at a couple of places, and then a decision will be made around which site they're going to actually go to. And like most social work programs that you'll see, you'll get to have two different placements, first year and second year. So you'll have the experience of interning for two places, which a lot of the times can lead to job attainment.
Excellent, thank you. I don't want to skip over questions, so we'll give that. I'll read kind of one of the questions was, we mentioned accreditation, how long does that process take? So Dr. Peel, you put a great answer in there. It takes about 3 years. We've already begun this process. And again, as we mentioned in that last slide that we did have up, students who enter the degree program at the stage that we're in right now, if you graduate before that time is up, you still get incorporated. It still counts that you've graduated from an accredited program once all of this has been finalized for us. But for most of the students coming in, typically about 3 years is about how long you would be as a student with us. So you'd be right in there during that entire process in that accreditation phase with us. Great question about the admissions requirements. That yes, for the MSW, so for our master's degree students, we do require an interview. So the way that works, for those of you looking at the MSW degree, you'll submit all of the required admissions documents. So there are a number of those. And what I would say is we'll talk with you as your enrollment counselor here at Pacific Oaks. We'll talk with you about all of those documents. Once all of those are on file, we'll start looking at a date to schedule for you to meet with a faculty member. And Dr. Peel, would you like to talk about just how does that interview take place? What are the types of conversations that take place in the interview so that they can have a better understanding of that?
What we promise is certainly not scary or daunting. We really just want to ensure that there's a mutual connection, meaning that we feel that you would do really well in this program and that also you feel that this program is the right fit for your goals. So you have the opportunity to ask questions, and we're going to learn about what brought you to the field of social work. Most applicants have a reason. They have experienced being part of a group that's been left behind for too long. They have felt oppressed in some way. They want to create change, or they're an ally. They want to be part of change for people they love and they care about. And they also want to see a more just and socially conscious world. And they want to be part of that healing process for the world. So we see a certain type of student that comes with that passion and motivation to make great change. We would love to hear your story. What brought you to social work? Also, what kind of learner you are? What are your feelings about the asynchronous format? Do you really feel that's something that a methodology, an approach that's really going to work for you? And we'd like to hear about how you learn. We'd also love to hear about what type of social work you're interested in, what your values are, what your beliefs are. We really want to get to know you and just make sure that it's a really good fit. And of course, answer any questions that you might have about our program. So you'll be in a virtual panel with faculty from across our program. And so you'll also get to know some of your professors that you'll have.
You know, I think you also just answered one of the other questions, which was, can we do the interview online? And knowing that we've got some students that might be out of state, different parts of the state of California, it's quite large. So it sounds like, yes, these can be done virtually, much like we're doing right now in Zoom. So hopefully that was a perfect answer already for a question that popped up for us, in doing that interview. I like to think of the interview for students as it's not just the faculty interviewing a student, it's the student also interviewing the faculty. And I think you touched that very well. It's an opportunity to ask those questions as well, to get really in depth with an understanding of what to expect. So it's a great opportunity on both sides.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, this is something that's very important, to the students, because, your education is an important investment. And we want to make sure that you feel extremely confident about your investment. So that's our stamp and seal of approval that we're moving forward mutually, because as you're a student in this program, it's a mutual relationship that helps us all move forward as faculty, as community leaders, and also as students.
And we've got a great question here, and Dr. Peel, you've answered it. Thank you. But question for those who maybe didn't see that was, how long is each class? Since these are online courses, each term that you would be in class with us is 8 weeks long. So as a student, you know that it's kind of nice sometimes. You just know I've only got 8 weeks and then I'm done with this class. But it also means that you can go through your coursework a little bit faster than if you were to just do these in a full semester. So it does help accelerate your time to complete a little bit. So 8 weeks per class. In each term, the number of courses you take might vary depending on if you're a bachelor's student or a master's student. Typically at the bachelor's degree level, students will normally take either 1 or 2 classes. Some students might take as many as 3 in one term, but we really encourage you at least to start out with just 1 class in your first term and add additionals as you go, just to make sure that you get adjusted to being a student. Once you're adjusted and situated well, add additional courses in your future terms, take 2 or 3 in future terms. Those graduate students, your master's degree students, typically 1 class in a term, but you can take as many as 2 classes per term. So it really is up to you and as far as what you can balance. And we're going to encourage you to take as many credit hours as you can be successful in. We don't want you to take too many to where you're not able to handle the course load and life, because we know life isn't going to stop. So we want you to be able to balance both of those.
That's a really good point, Michael. And I just wanted to share just a quick personal experience. I started in my MSW program part-time. I was working and I was unsure I could really fully commit to full-time. And then I felt that I really could. So then in my second term, I was able to transfer into the full-time program. So don't let that deter you. We have 2 pathways for that very reason. And whether it's 2 years or 3 years, there's really no difference. So it really just depends on you, and you will graduate no matter what. So 2 or 3 years, it just depends. And sometimes the part-time option is the best option. All of our faculty members are faculty advisors, and we have these conversations on a weekly basis with students. Take advantage of the multiple formats that we offer.
Here I started talking. Michael, you're on mute. It's 2020. That modality of being asynchronous, and I love that for our online students, because again, like you said, Dr. Peel, I think you'd said, you can log in when you can. So for those that have jobs, who have family obligations, you can do the majority of your coursework and assignments when it fits your schedule, because you're not locked to a time that you have to be in class. What I love that the social work faculty have put together, though, are different times that might come up throughout a term when you might have the opportunity to all log in a Zoom like this, and still have some real-time interactions with your classmates and your faculty, but not having it fixed every day, multiple times throughout your week, but still have those multiple live touch points for you. So it's a perfect balance, I think, to be able to get face-to-face interaction without overloading your schedule that's probably already full with a lot of the other work and life obligations that you have.
It also prepares you for the autonomous work that you would do in a leadership role as an MSW. Frankly, when you start a leadership role in an MSW capacity, oftentimes you're given, it could be a stack of paperwork, it could be a large problem, and you are told to go solve that problem. And you're doing it where you're going to have to find resources, you'll have to connect, but you'll have to do that in some kind of autonomous way. And that's what asynchronous learning teaches you to do. It teaches you how to be resourceful and utilize those resources while you are solely responsible for it. Excellent.
We did just get one additional question. If you could just clarify for us, Michelle, what types of requirements that you're asking about. The question was, what are there requirements before I graduate? So if you could just clarify for us so that we can help answer that question for you. I'm loving this engagement. All of you that have joined us have all had questions that you've asked. And I love that, because it tells me that you're genuinely serious about this field and about these degree programs, and hoping, of course, that you are hearing what you needed to hear to decide whether or not this is going to be right for you. Is there a test I need to take in order to graduate? Great question. So, and I think, Michelle, you're talking about the MSW. So Dr. Peel.
I'm glad to take that question, Michelle. It's a great question. So we have what's called a Capstone Project, which is the last course that you take. It's the 675. And essentially, it's a portfolio of all your skills and all the things that you've learned in your field placement. So the requirement for graduation is each course builds on itself and culminates to this capstone. Through your 2 or 3 years, you've found what field you love, what placements you've enjoyed, and also you've learned about the things you do not enjoy and the things that you do not want to pursue in the field, which are all valid things. And so in this capstone, you're able to do something that you really care about and be able to present on it and talk about how this program and how your experience in this program is translating to professional practice. And so many people use the capstone to use in their interview. So when somebody asks you about a project you've worked on or a skill that you've honed, this is what the capstone is for. It is your virtual professional portfolio that you pick up and take with you to any interviews. And so that's our requirement, is going to field and thriving in field, and also completing your courses, getting good grades, getting B's and A's in your classes. That will keep you successful in the program.
That's perfect. Thank you. And I hope that helped Michelle with that question there for you. I am going to bring up one final slide here. I have very much enjoyed the questions. I think these are very good, specific questions for students. I also want to recognize that your time is valuable. We know, again, we talked about our typical students. You probably have family that might be waiting on you. You might have some obligations. So we want to be respectful of everyone's time. But this by no means is the last opportunity that you have to answer or ask these questions of us. So I've brought up our contact information. If you have any additional questions, or maybe something just didn't occur to you while you were talking with us this evening, please feel free to reach out to us because we would love to be able to answer those questions. And again, just make sure that you feel as confident about being a student at Pacific Oaks as we would feel about admitting you as a student to Pacific Oaks. So please don't hesitate to send us your additional questions. I'll leave this up for a little bit longer. But any last words of wisdom from our faculty or Dr. Castro or Dr. Pedunton? Anything you'd like to leave our visitors here with?
Well, I'm going to start by saying that I am so inspired by those questions that you asked because you're very serious with your education. And I know you're going to be so successful. And I know that you're going to make so much impact to your community. And you know, as late hours as it is, I must say that I am so inspired at this hour.
And from my perspective, we are here to help. The Student Success Center will be there to support you, just to make sure that you have an exceptional, experience while you are at Pacific Oaks. So we are there.
I would just say that the size of Pacific Oaks, I think, makes it a really neat, unique learning experience and environment because there is so much individualized support and attention that you get from faculty. And in terms of choosing social work, every day in the field as a social worker, it's been meaningful. I have never had a day at work where there hasn't been some meaning to what I'm doing or seen its worth. And I don't think I would never trade that. So I couldn't think of I'm very biased, I know, but I couldn't think of a better profession to choose.
Mine is going to be, and I don't mean to make this sound negative, there's never a better time to start school. It is always going to be something that comes up. So if you are considering going into your bachelor's degree at this point, or you're considering going into your master's degree, now is the best time to do it. And I don't say that just from Pacific Oaks College. I just know that as adults, we all know our lives tend to get more and more complicated as we go. And we look back and think, wow, life was so much easier back then. Now is back then for your future. So if you are interested and serious about being a student in either the bachelor's or the master's degree program, now is the best time for you to get started with that. So if you can see on there, for our bachelor's degree students, you actually do have an opportunity to start school with us very soon. So if you've already started that application process, etc., we can still have you join us in October. But for the majority of you, I'm sure, and definitely for our MSW students, our spring semester begins in January, and we are accepting students now for the spring semester. So if you haven't yet, but maybe you heard what you needed to hear tonight, go ahead and get started with us. We've got that website there, apply.pacificoaks.edu. That's how you start your application process. And an enrollment counselor from Pacific Oaks who's very knowledgeable about the degree programs and the admissions process will be able to work with you and be your own personal advocate. They'll get to know you and what your obstacles and challenges might be, and connect you with anybody at the college that can help overcome those and support you throughout your time as you transition from not being a student to being a student. We know that's a big transition to make. We want to support you through that as well. So that's mine, is now is the best time for us to be able to go to school. Thank you, everyone. Again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Just greatly appreciate it. And again, a special thanks to each of you who have visited us this evening. So Michelle, Angie, Scarlett, and Nayeli, thank you for coming to spend your time with us this evening and to ask these great questions. And definitely special thanks to our two amazing faculty, just incredibly knowledgeable about the field, and to Dr. Pedunton, our college president, and to Dr. Judy Castro here to support us. Great question, a final one to leave us with. When is the deadline to apply for spring 2021? We do rolling admissions here at Pacific Oaks, so we don't have a specific date that I would say is the deadline. What I would say is the longer you take to start your application process, the less likely you're going to be prepared to start in January. So the sooner you start your application process with us, the sooner we can help prepare you. Once you're accepted, there's still additional preparation, books, getting your class schedule ready, getting used to everything. So the sooner you get ready, the better prepared you are as a student. So I would say if you want to set your own personal deadline, maybe give yourself maybe by no more than 2 more weeks to just start that application. We can work with you to set up some timelines that work for you to make sure that you feel prepared for January. So definitely a great time. For fall of 21, we haven't started the application process yet. So we will start that application process usually in the middle of December. So that will be the time to start applying. But right now, we're ready for our spring of 21 students, ready to welcome in a new class. So hopefully that works for everyone as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you. Thank you, Scarlett, for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Have a great evening. We look forward to welcoming all of you as students at Pacific Oaks. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.